All right, Chris, man, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been excited. Just started following you, and your story really is amazing. I want the people to kind of hear some of your testimony, hear your story, because it really is amazing the things that have been going on in your life. And I think it's easy to look at an athlete, a professional athlete, someone who spends their life pursuing a sport, and I think even especially a boxer, because you fight for a living, and they kind of jump to conclusions about who you are without actually knowing who you are. And I think there's many facets to you, and I'm excited to kind of find some of those out. Before we kind of get to the current stuff going on, I kind of want to take us back a little bit. What was Chris like as a kid?
As a kid, I was everything I'm not today. So as a kid, I was shy, I was scared. I was a lover, not a fighter. That's exactly what I was. And I grew up, I'm one of 13 kids.
Wow.
Yes, 7 boys, 6 girls. My father was a professional fighter. So I grew up with that in my family, boxing, being active, athletic. But even though I was a very athletic kid, rugby, track and field, I was never a fighter. That just wasn't my passion. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't a fighting kid. Out of the 7 boys, I'm the smallest. So you can imagine, I'm the smallest out of 7 boys. And I grew up in South Africa. And if you know the history of South Africa, it's a tough place, man.
Did the other brothers or any of your sisters get into fighting?
Yeah, all the boys are in fighting, because my dad knew that growing up in South Africa, my dad knew that when it comes to his boys, they will need to know how to defend themselves. And so my dad implied that skill, that fighting mentality into all of his boys.
So you mentioned rugby. Any other sports you really got into when you were a kid?
Athletics and rugby, man.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of cricket. Wasn't a big cricket player. I was very good at rugby and athletic. I was a long distance runner, high jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think that helped you as when you got into boxing later, playing those sports as a kid?
Running. My dad implied running into me as a kid. He made sure that I run every day. And back then I didn't enjoy it at all, and I didn't understand why my dad is doing this. And he told me, he said, "You want to become a fighter, you need to start with the basics, and the basics is road work. You got to run. And I run every day of my life."
Absolutely, yeah. How those things as kids, sometimes we hate them, or even the struggle we're going through now ends up helping us in the long run. Growing up, so who was the biggest influence? I think I know the answer to this, but who was the biggest influence on you growing up?
My dad.
Yeah.
I looked at him and I saw this figure, this strong. I thought my dad was just a Superman. I thought he was, honestly. So I would look at what my dad do, and then I would try and do it. And like I said, my dad led by example. My dad, still at the age of 62, he would be in the gym hitting the bag. Every day he would call me and say, "My son, how are you doing? Good. How are you, Dad?" "No, I'm good. I punched the bag this morning." So I grew up watching a man do that, and he laid the principle. He laid the foundation for me to show me that what hard work is all about. So he was my biggest influence. He still is my biggest influence.
What about growing up? Was there spiritual stuff in your house? Was there church?
Yeah, back in South Africa, and in my household, we went to church every Sunday. I grew up learning about Jesus, and I hear all the stories. So that was a household thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So you had that growing up.
Yes.
So I think it's important for people to know. Obviously, a big part of your fan base is in South Africa, but for people that don't know the history, can you tell us a little what that was like growing up during that time in South Africa?
Yeah, so obviously the history of my country is all about the apartheid between the different cultures and races. And after 1994, when Nelson Mandela came out of prison, it all changed. Okay, so Nelson Mandela became president. We had so growing up, then all of a sudden. We were all together, like all races we were sitting at the same table, everything. And hey, I didn't grow up in a house. My dad wasn't a racist, never racist. No one in my family has ever been a racist. So we grew up, loved hugging and sharing, but it was difficult because now the wheel has turned in the sense of there was a lot of fighting going on in South Africa between cultures. There was a lot of between races. There was a lot of fighting coming up. So you had to fight your way out of trouble. You had to, because there was so much violence growing up in South Africa. And then now more than ever, 2019, it is really bad back home. And so growing up back in South Africa wasn't the easiest, but it made me who I am today.
I know you have a real heart for your country.
Yes,
and your people. What's the message? What's your message to your people?
Hey, love and peace. Love and peace and forgiveness, and get God in your life. That is my message, because that's what we need. And there's so many, this is the thing. There's so many people in South Africa from different races that do believe in the things I'm fighting for, which is love, peace, but they are influenced by different people. When I say different people, they're influenced by leaders that bring prints down on them that because of the history, we got to get back to them. We got to get back to each other. Take what's yours. But my message to them is, I wanna fight, and that's my purpose now. Is to be a voice for so many South Africans that want to see change, that want to see love, that want to see peace, because there's a lot of it in South Africa. So, and they need God in their life. They need prayer. They have to have faith. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
That's a powerful message.
Nothing is going to change.
And I think, and just talk with you for a short time, I know you believe that the things God has put you through and the place you're at now, with the influence and your somewhat captive audience. I think I want to commend you for that, and keep down that path, because you can be that light for God and through your sport. So tell us a little bit how I know you went to church, but I know you weren't living for the Lord when you were young. Right. So when did that shift happen? How did that take place?
When I was 18. Like I said, we went to church every Sunday. But as a kid, you go to church, and then Monday you forgot you went to church. I went to church because Dad said we got to go to church. I never knew how to, you learn about Jesus and about God, and you hear all the stories, and you learn about prayer, but I couldn't nail it. I couldn't understand and figure out how do you pray and talk to someone you've never met in your life. And I was that kid. We went to church, but I didn't know how to live for Jesus, because how do you do that? As a kid, I didn't know how to talk to him. And then I was 18 years old, just finished school, and now I want to become a professional fighter. So I had to go to doctors to do medical tests on you, all kind of brain scans and all blood tests and all that kind of stuff to make sure you're 100% healthy. And I did that. It was a Friday afternoon. I'll never forget it. It was a Friday afternoon. And I went to the doctor, and they ran a bunch of tests on me, and I failed my tests. They picked up that I'm a diabetic, and there were so many boxes that was ticked, and I couldn't get my license. And we ran the second test, and I failed it again. Now you gotta understand, my dad was a professional fighter. Me and my dad, that was our thing, was boxing. Me and my dad spent every day boxing. He trained me. And then when I was 18, I had to go back home and share with him the news that I failed my test. I couldn't get my pro license. I remember going home, telling him the news, and then going into my room. And I locked my door, 18 years old. And I started crying. I'll never forget it. I started crying like a little kid. And I fell down on my knees. To that day, I've never experienced what it meant to fall on your knees and pray. I've never done that. But this specific day, I went home and locked my door, and I fell on my knees crying like a little kid. And I had like a hard-on argument with God, with Jesus. All of a sudden, I had this Jesus that I was talking to. Like, I've never done this. But all of a sudden, I was in anger. And I was talking to Jesus. I said, come on. I said, all right. I said, now's your time. I said, because that was it. I didn't know what to do as an 18-year-old boy. And I said, this is it. I said, you want to prove yourself to me? I've heard so many stories of you, so many. I said, now's your time. Now's your time. You got to heal me. You know what I want to do in life. You know that I want to box so badly. You got to heal me. I said, I don't believe I'm sick because I haven't been in a hospital, I've been living a healthy life. I said, I don't believe any of this, but now's your time, now's your chance to prove to me what you can do, and I'll make you a promise. And I made him a promise, and I was on my knees that day, and I made a promise. I said, you heal me, and I will testify. I will share my testimony. I will start telling people how amazing you are, and I will live for you, but you gotta heal me.
Wow, amazing.
That Monday, I went back to the same doctor that tested me twice on Friday, and I failed 2 tests, and I walked in on Monday. And I remember walking in, and he was like, Mr. Van Heerden, he said, the sooner you start treating, and we can do something for you. And I still remember looking at him and saying, being a little bit arrogant, call it if you will. And I said, it's my money.
Yeah.
I said, you just test me one more time. And we ran the whole system again, and I got the green light. I couldn't pick up anything.
Wow.
And that is the day that my life, that's the day I gave my life for the Lord, because then I realized there's power in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a change for me, because all of a sudden I was like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
This praying thing works.
Yeah.
And there is a Jesus that answers prayers. And the stories I've heard is true. And that's when I gave my life to the Lord at 18.
That's amazing. Just a miracle is the God how worked a miracle.
I don't care what people said. That was my turning point. He knew I needed that proof, and he gave it to me.
Yeah, I think that was somewhat of a short valley, but I think of the verse, we walk in the valley of the shadow of death. And I think we go through things as believers, and we feel like there's no way out.
Oh,
we feel like, and I think that verse though, I read it recently, and it just resonated differently. We walk in the shadow. It's just a shadow. We can move away from that shadow. So I think for people, just to not only encourage you, but to encourage anybody watching, listening, like it's just a moment of time, and God wants us, and I think this is a big thing for you, the faith. He wants us to come to Him.
That's it.
And submit and be there, and remember that it's just a valley, and we're gonna get to the top. And now, I mean, obviously, fast forward a bunch of years here.
He wants us to turn to Him. He hungers for us to call Him out, and He wants to help us.
Yeah. So I imagine now, as a professional athlete, there's challenges and obstacles that you have to overcome, and they probably loom, especially in the light that you're in. And I think we've heard stories of the boxing world, the corruption, some of the shadiness. How do you balance that with your professional life as a boxer and being in that industry with your faith in Jesus?
I live in the gym though. So when I say I live in the gym, that's what I do, in the sense of I'm in the gym every day, training, living. My friend circle comes out of the gym. My closest friends are out of the gym. So I'm living in that environment always, and that's where I get to. I'm me. I'm not pretending. I'm not one of those guys who pretend. I don't force anything down on body, but I am who I am. And if you go with me to the gym, you'll see. People take to me because they feel something, and what they feel is they see my presence, my love for Jesus. They see it. They see how vibrant I am, and that draws people near to me. So for me to be a fighter and live my passion as a Christian, that's easy for me, in the sense of, I'm in the gym, I'm with good people.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say this. This is Hollywood. This is Los Angeles, this is Hollywood. I am going to say this. I'm from South Africa, and I've noticed and picked up that this Hollywood, it's a crazy place. We're all chasing dreams. People don't have time. A lot of people don't have time. When I say don't have time, I feel that like they do, they're just scared. They just don't know how to do about it. So if you do talk about Jesus, people turn away from you. They walk away from you. They do, and that's not going to stop me, But I also see how one person's confidence in talking about Jesus openly affects other people that wants to do that so badly, and they do once they see people do it. And I'm one of those people that do it.
Absolutely, and I think that's what the Eternity Sports is about. We want that there are other people in your sport. In your walk of life that are doing that, get connected with them, because it's easier. We're not supposed to do life alone. I think so, especially as a guy, we just feel like, we can do it. And most important, we need Jesus.
Amen.
But we need other people around.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will tell you this. What I get a lot, and it gives me a fire and goosebumps, is when you're in the gym and you're just doing your thing, and fighters. I've had other fighters coming up to me and say, "I want what you have." Man, I want to be with you. I want to hang out with you. I want what you have. What is it? And I tell them, man, you got to get, you got to get Jesus in your life, man. And I invite them to church, and they do show up. But it's like you say, they're scared, and they need to know that it's okay.
When I think that shows the fruit in your life, I think when people can see that and to believe that you're true and really about that.
Yes,
I had a situation one time, and I knew this guy. We had played basketball forever, so he knew me before I knew the Lord. And then he saw me afterwards, and we were kind of more like friends on the court type of friends. Not, we didn't know each other really well. And but he called me out of the blue one day because he was having a difficult time, and I was the only Christian that he knew. And so sometimes it's just living that life every day.
That's it.
I never had a chance to actually sit down in front of him and lay out the gospel to him, but I had a chance that day when he called me. And it's just kind of like every day. You don't have to be a professional boxer. You don't have to be a professional basketball player. You have to be living every day because we have those people around us. We have a ministry right where we're at. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's something in your life, it could be boxing, just around where you live in Los Angeles, and that you do to kind of keep you grounded? As you talk about, hey, I'm fighting on ESPN, you're following on Instagram, whatever those things are. I mean, what's something you do to really kind of help yourself stay grounded in your faith?
My mistake. When I say my mistake, I made a big mistake, and I've learned from it. I became world champion. I made a promise to the Lord that I will live for Him, I will place Him first, and I will be second, and I will share my testimony, I will win hearts for the Lord. And I did that. I wish, you can go on YouTube and watch my fights on YouTube. Up to before I won a world title, man, I will be in a fight, in the ring, in the fight, we're bleeding, and the cameraman will come, ting, go to your corner, and the cameraman will be in my corner, and I start preaching. Because that's how I lived. I made a promise to the Lord. I was all about Jesus. Even in the middle of a fight, I started preaching to the cameraman. That's cool. Crazy. That's crazy.
That's great.
And I lived that way. Then I won a world title, and my life's changed. All of a sudden, I won a world title, and all of a sudden, you get friends you've never knew. You're getting invited to functions, parties. You make money, and slowly but surely, I started walking away from the Lord without knowing it. That's the big thing, is I didn't know what I was doing till I was drifted away completely. I started, for example, on a Saturday night you get invited to a function or whatever to talk, and then you go and you end up getting at home at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning because you had such a good night, and then you're too lazy and too tired to wake up at 8 to go to church. And I would say, next Sunday. And before I knew it, I stopped going to church. I stopped talking about the Lord. It was all about me. It became all about me.
Yeah.
And then I came to America, 2014. It was my dream to come here. I had a vision. I was like, Dad, one day I want to go. My dad said, you will. And I came. 2014, I came here as a world champion. I walked into America as a world champion with a belt on my shoulders. And it just wasn't that easy. Like, I walked in and I thought it was going to be easy, but it wasn't. Because I'm in a foreign country where I know no one. I don't know anything about America. It's completely the opposite of South Africa. When I say that, I mean the rules, driving on a different side of the road, everything is different.
Yeah.
I was living and I had no friends, no one. I was a man alone when I came here. Like, I knew no one. And about 6 months down the line, I lost my world title within the first 3 months of being here. How did I lose my world title? Okay, very simple. I came here on a tourist visa. Okay. Because I was so eager to get here. I was like, Dad, my dream is to go. I defended my world title for the 3rd time, and I had an opportunity to come here, and I was like, just jump the plane. I sold everything and jumped the plane because I was like, that's where I need to be. I've had this vision since I was 18. That's God telling me I gotta go. So I'm going, and I came. And my visa wasn't sorted. I was on a tourist visa, so I couldn't fight because you need a sports visa. And I didn't want to go back home because everyone back home told me I will be a failure if I leave South Africa and I come here. So I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of going back home like a failure and say I made a mistake. So I stayed here, and before I knew it, I got a letter from the boxing board that said, you got to defend your world title or you're going to lose your belt. But I couldn't because I didn't have the right paperwork. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And it stripped me, and I lost my world title without even stepping in the ring. I couldn't earn money here, so I couldn't work. So I was drawing money from South Africa, and that only lasted so long till my bank accounts got frozen in South Africa because they saw all these transactions. And then I hit a point where I didn't eat for 2 days because I couldn't get my hands on money. And that was about 6 months down the line. And I remember walking down Welterweight Boulevard, and I started crying like I cried when I was 18 years old.
And how old are you now?
31.
Okay.
And I started crying. I was 26 when I started crying.
Okay.
And I started crying like I was 18. And I walked down Welterweight Boulevard at 11 o'clock at night. And I started blaming God again. Now you got to keep in mind, when I say I started blaming God again, from winning the world title at 24 years old till mid 26, my life for the Lord has completely disappeared. It was all about me. I was living the life. So that day, that night at about 11 o'clock at night, I started blaming God again. I said, where are you? I said, how dare you leave me? I said, you answered all my prayers. You brought me to where I want to be. I said, I'm ashamed of who I am today because I can't even eat. And back home, in the meantime, back home, people think I'm living the life because I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm showing that. I'm pretending that everything is okay. And I was in a deep conversation with God, and I said, how dare you leave me? And it was like He answered me. Like He was there answering me. It's like I could hear His voice. It was just like He answered me. And He said to me, my son, I've never let you go. You broke your promise. You left my hand and you walked your path. I said, I was always by your side, but you decided to walk it alone. And I realized that night, that is the truth. I said, wow, I drifted off so far, and I took on this road of this dream by myself. I didn't even pray anymore. And it was like I get a second chance. I was excited because I knew where I went wrong, and I prayed for forgiveness. That night I prayed for forgiveness. Now keep in mind, I didn't eat for 2 days that night. That night I was so hungry. It's 11 o'clock at night. I prayed, I spoke to God, and I said, man, you gotta give me another chance. I said, I'm hungry. I said, I feel like I'm like a homeless man. Like I have nothing. I'm ashamed. And I say amen, and I stand up, and all of a sudden I've got a new life. I'm full of energy because I'm like, hey man, okay, I've got faith, this stuff is going to change. And my phone rings. My phone rings within a minute after praying. After that, my phone rings, and it's a friend of mine, Shane. And I pick up, and he's like, hey, how you doing? What's up, buddy? I haven't seen you in so long. I just want to see how you're doing. And I'm lying again, in the sense I'm saying, I'm about to go to bed. I say, I'm tired. It's long, because I knew he was going to invite me, and I don't have money, and I've got too much pride. And I was like, I'm about to go to bed. I just ate. I'm tired. And he was like, oh man, he says, I'm right around the corner at Denny's, 24-hour Denny's. He said, and I haven't seen you in so long. I miss you, and I just want to invite you to come and have a meal with me.
Wow.
And it hit me. I was like, oh man, the Lord is about to do amazing things in my life. So what I've learned, to answer your question, is I've learned from a mistake. And that's the one thing that kept me on the right path. It's from learning from my mistakes, from drifting off. Yeah. And that's how I get to keep at my faith, keep living for Jesus, is because I made the mistake. Yeah. I know where I ended up. Yeah. And I'm not going to make the same mistake.
Well, that's powerful too. We end up making mistakes, and we don't know how to come out of that. And I know you mentioned this, but I want people to hear that you asked for forgiveness right then.
I did.
So powerful.
It took me over 2 years, but I did.
Yeah, to realize I'm in this place and I need to get back to God. That's really powerful.
That was a big change for me.
Yeah, to submit to God is not an easy thing.